Friends, dragons, countrymen, lend me your ears, and allow me to welcome you to the very first episode of Buzzed with Blackula. Thank you for joining us. Today, August 19th, would have been my father William Marshall's 101st birthday, and I can't think of a better way to celebrate him than by revisiting one of his most iconic performances, Dr. Richard Daystrom in Star Trek, the Ultimate Series. Or the original series, The Ultimate Computer.
For those of you who don't know me, I'm Tarek, William Marshall's son. My dad's career spanned over 5 decades, from Shakespeare to sci-fi, from Broadway to blaxploitation, from Othello to Blackula. He was the king of cartoons on Pee-wee's Playhouse, Frederick Douglass on stage, Thomas Bowers as the traveling opera singer on Bonanza, and in 1968, he stepped onto the bridge of the Enterprise as one of the most groundbreaking roles for a black scientist on primetime TV. This channel,
Buzzed with Blackula,
is all about revisiting that legacy. Sometimes I'll be reacting, sometimes diving deep into history, and sometimes just sharing a drink and a memory.
And now, fellow viewers, let us boldly re-explore the most ultimate of computers in Star Trek lore. I have a computer game to show you.
Have you heard of the M5 Multitronic unit?
That's, Dr. Richard Daystrom's device, isn't it?
The most ambitious computer complex ever created. Its purpose is to correlate all computer activity aboard a starship, to provide the ultimate in vessel operation and control.
Nimoy and my father stayed in contact after this episode quite a bit, and there's quite a bit of correspondence between them. And my father really, really loved this set, and this was actually one of his favorite sets to be on, especially after getting off the Guatemala set for Tarzan, the Blue Stone of Heaven, with the weather and the ill-fitting costumes down there. But he said that this set was just such a supportive set where everyone worked so hard to bring out the best in one another and just support one another. And it's just, in a world that can often be a little bit cutthroat, with a lot of one-upmanship and whatnot, this was just such a collaborative set that he's always just treasured the memory of being on this set.
The basic design of all our ship's computers are Dr. Daystrom's.
Dr. Daystrom will see to the installation himself, and he'll supervise the tests. When he's ready, you'll receive your orders and proceed on the mission with a crew of 20.
There's a lot of build-up to this scene, but this was actually a really historic role in television history. This was the first time that a black man had been referred to as a genius in American dramatic television, and the second time that American television featured a black scientist. The first time being the Man from U.N.C.L.E. episode, The Maze Affair, in which my father also starred as Dr. James Febray the year before.
Doctor! Yes?
Yes? Now comes the entrance of Blackula.
You'd be Captain Kirk.
My father.
I am honored, Doctor.
Thank you very much. Captain, I finished my tests on the N5, and it must be hooked into your main power plants in order to be operative. Your engineer there wouldn't allow us the power necessary without your orders.
Dr. Daystrom developed dualtronics at age 10 to supersede circuitry that used transistors and resistors, and at 24 won a Nobel Prize for his work.
The M5 has been perfected, Commander. Its potential is a fact.
Frankly, the only fact that I'm concerned about
Non-believer
is this thing doesn't work.
detected.
There are not enough men aboard to run the ship.
Come on now, McCoy. This is a great machine. And it was made by
Blackula himself, I say.
Now, who is this?
Dr. Leonard.
Who is this man that is defaming my work, maligning my advanced AI reasoning?
McCoy, Senior Medical Officer.
I'm sorry, but this is a security area.
I wouldn't worry,
Daystrom's
Doctor.
breakthrough
McCoy
with
has clearance
dualtronics was using a symmetrical subspace field to speed up time in the computer core, making it seem unimaginably fast to the observer on the outside.
Supposed to do that?
If I can be of assistance, Doctor.
No, thank you. I can manage.
He made the computers for this
There's
ship.
nothing wrong, Captain.
It's just the best
a few
of them all.
minor settling-in adjustments to make. As you can see, all's in order now.
The Ultimate
Doctor,
Computer
why,
was filmed between
why
December
is it called
7th and
M5,
14th
not
of
M1?
1967 on
Well, you
Stage 9
see,
at Desilu
the
Gower Studios
multitronic
in
units
Hollywood.
1 through 4 were not entirely successful.
Dun, dun, dun.
This one is. M5 is ready to take control of the ship.
Total
Sure it is.
control.
That is what it was designed for, Captain.
So, Gene Roddenberry, this role was not specifically written for a black actor originally. It was just written for an actor who could play a scientist. And Michael Karg at the time was was my father's agent, and when he received word from Star Trek casting directors that they were looking for someone who could fill the role of Daystrom, he said, "I cannot think of anyone of any nationality or any race who can play this role except for William Marshall." And so he personally recommended my father for the role. And then Gene Roddenberry, when he heard that, he said, "Of course, this would be such a perfect time. It's right in the middle of a lot of civil rights developments in the country and whatnot." And so this became just the historic role, and an even more historic role than it was going to be, and really, really great experience for my father.
There are certain things men must do to remain men.
The episode aired on March 8th,
computer would take that
1968
away.
on NBC.
There are other things a man like you might do. Or perhaps you object to the possible loss of the prestige and the ceremony accorded a starship captain. The computer can do your job, and without all that. That is what we're here for, isn't it, Captain?
You can just really, really hear the authority and how he just takes control of the situation on the Enterprise. I mean, it was a guest role, but Days from the Future, in 1968, seeing a black scientist written with that kind of weight was actually revolutionary, which is why this role, in addition to my father's performance, has just stood the test of time, and it's just a fascinating role.
The M5 computer is now disengaged.
Captain, your orders at this point are not open to interpretation.
No, they are not. So, Kirk, I am sorry to inform you, but my machine is going to replace all the cogs of human labor on this ship. It's just the future. There's no way around it. Enjoy.
You must commit the M5 to handle its approach, the orbit, and then to analyze data regarding landing party recommendations.
You see, Kirk, you must buy my machine. You must keep my machine. It is an AI like no other. It can replace you, but we won't put it in those terms.
If you don't mind, I'll make my own recommendations.
Obstacle detected.
Feel you need the exercise? Go on, Captain.
Go right ahead. Don't trust my computer, Kirk. I will get back to perfecting the code for this AI.
Well, the only difference in reports and recommendations is the landing party personnel. That's only a matter of judgment.
Judgment, Captain?
Oh no, I'm sorry, Kirk, but M510, you 0, maybe 1.
The computer does not judge.
Aren't you really more interested in why M5 did not select you and Dr. McCoy?
I personally, Kirk, would like to show you again that my machine can do everything that your crew can do, and more. And I am Dr. Daystrom.
Well, let's find out anyway. M5 tie-in.
M5.
Explanation for landing party recommendation. Why were the captain and the chief medical officer not included in recommendation?
Non-essential personnel.
So, Kirk, M5 will very, very easily and rationally decide who is essential and non-essential. I told you. Sorry, Captain. Just the nature of perfect AI.
Captain,
The machine's making decisions on its own, Captain.
it's the M5 unit, sir. That thing's turning off systems all over the ship.
Well, it knows what it's doing, don't you understand?
As I suspected, it is not a malfunction. M5 was merely shutting down power to areas of the ship that do not require it.
Listen, Kirk, M5 does not malfunction. M5 is a perfect captain.
As the unit is called upon to do more work, it pulls more power to enable it to do what is required of it, just as the human body draws more energy to run than to stand still.
Computers have metabolism too, don't you understand? The more workload you put on them, the more ATP they must expend.
Can't you understand? The Multitronic unit is a revolution in computer science. I designed the duotronic elements used in your ship right now, and I know they are as archaic as dinosaurs.
Kirk, your software is very much outdated.
M5 has acknowledged for us, sir.
Transmitter detected.
All the more reason to use AI for everything.
Report on damage sustained in Mark attack.
Minor hit on deflector screen 4. No appreciable damage.
Rather impressive display for a machine, wouldn't you say, Captain?
Yes, Captain. My machine is perfect, and the human element is already within it. But with more logic.
Our compliments to the M5 unit. And regards to Captain Dunsel.
Who the blazes is Captain Dunce?
M5 will replace the cogs in the machine.
I may be just a ship's doctor, but I make a Finnegal's Folly that's known from here to Orion.
There, Kirk, have some booze.
I strongly prescribe it, Jim.
Ethanol, doctor's orders, turns into vinegar in the body, and vinegar is good for you. Through oxidation, it turns to vinegar.
That's one of your better prescriptions. Simple, but effective.
Captain Kirk really is a great guy. I had the pleasure of interviewing William Shatner at the end of March of this year about this episode, and he just, even though he doesn't tend to watch his past work, he did remember this episode for its historicity and whatnot. It was a great interview. He's a good guy.
Manual time detected.
Maintaining course. Going to work course, sir.
Jim.
I just want to say, in this episode, you can really see the kind of teamwork and collaboration my father was talking about in his reflections on this set. He really just found it to be such a supportive set, and you can really see it in how all the actors just work to just, again, like I said, bring out the best in each other.
Captain, what is it?
These controls are locked. We can't disengage the computer.
Well, the machine knows better than you, Captain. There is no disengagement for perfection.
There appears to be some defect in the control panel.
There certainly does. Your brilliant young computer just destroyed an ore freighter.
Your robot ship?
Only your...
But it shouldn't...
See, like I said, M5 only kills robots.
All right, Daystrom, let's turn this thing off.
Computer's fighting back.
It's not my doing, Kirk.
Perfection has no off switch.
Captain's log.
This entire exercise is the trial for M5, a shakedown. You must expect a few minor difficulties, but I assure you they can be corrected.
It's M5 ship now, Captain.
I suggest we disconnect it at the source.
Give me a few moments with it.
No!
Interference detected. Neutralization complete.
Captain, the laser's got a mind of its own.
Listen to robot.
It wasn't a deliberate
It
act.
was expendable,
M5
Kirk.
told it needed a new power source. The ensign simply got in the way.
Captain, what do we do?
I don't know, Scotty.
The episode was written by mathematician Lawrence Wolfe, adapted by Ray Bradbury, and given to Gene Roddenberry.
Simpletons. These mortals that just want to question my machine.
Don't shut a child off when it makes a mistake. M5 is growing, learning.
Let my machine learn.
Learning to kill.
Well, everyone must learn a craft.
The M1 through M4, remember? Not entirely successful, that's the way Daystrom put it.
But genius doesn't work on an assembly line basis. Well, you can't simply say, today I will be brilliant. No matter how long it took, he came out with Multitronics, the M5.
Right. The government bought it, then Daystrom had to make it work, and he did.
So, When this episode first aired in 1968, America was just weeks away from MLK's assassination, and it was the height of the civil rights struggle. And here we have my father, William Marshall, introduced not just as a scientist, but as the genius who revolutionized computer science in the 23rd century. And that word genius being spoken about a black man on primetime television in 1968 was no small thing. Usually black characters on TV at the time were written as servants, comic relief, stereotypes. To see one actually described as the brightest mind of his age, this embodies the radical nature of Star Trek. It was actually quite groundbreaking at the time.
Mr. Scott is ready to apply the circuit disruptor, Captain. As he does so, I shall trip the manual override into control.
Good, go ahead.
No. You can't take control from the M5.
No.
We're going to do our very best.
Leave the machine.
Now let me have it for a while. Let me work with it for a while, please.
Damn it, Kirk. Let the machine express itself. These mere mortals do not understand the artificial intelligence that is transcended. The divine.
That's it, Mr. Spock.
Please.
Damn it, let the machine live.
But it was active. I'd stake all I know
I'm
that it
telling
was.
you, I'd stick my whole whiskey bottle on it, eh?
Dr. Daystrom, I want an answer. Right now.
What is it, Kirk?
Tired of hearing about the M5's new approach. What is
Let
it
the machine
exactly?
do what it wants.
I do not mean to offend, sir, but it behaves.
The machine knows more than you, Kirk. And all 400 plus employees, cogs, on your machine.
With an almost human pattern.
Yes, quite right, Mr. Spock. You see, one of the arguments against computers controlling ships was that they couldn't think like men. I've developed a method of impressing human engrams upon the computer circuits. The relays are not unlike the synapse of the brain. M5 thinks, Captain.
So this was 1968 again, and my father only had 4 days to prepare for this role, and there was no Wikipedia or Google, so he did a lot of research for this role and what engrams are, which is the pattern or specific pattern of neurons that activate when a memory is recalled. And but with such short notice, he really just did an amazing job with this, and he just had such a supportive and wonderful cast. And
Does M5 understand that this is only a drill?
Of course. It was programmed to understand, Captain.
Kirk, as I've told you before, M5 is perfect. It is perfect. Do not question the machine.
The ore ship was a miscalculation, an accident. I don't know.
What the devil is Kirk doing?
Kirk's gone mad. He's a space jockey riding M5 into glory.
There's got to be a way of getting to the M5. There's got to be a way.
I'm sorry, Kirk. The M5 has assumed control.
Enterprise, Jim. Have you gone mad?
We have.
What are you trying to prove?
We have a machine.
Jim,
The thinking machine. Sorry, Admiral.
Heroes, stop the attack. Daystrom!
Dracula!
I really don't know how to get to the M5, Kirk.
Oh.
I really
am
do not know.
very sorry.
Dr. Daystrom, M5 has no reason to believe you would harm it.
They can't do that.
You can't do that. My machine is perfect.
They'll destroy the M5.
You can save the M5.
I can make it stop. I created it.
Kirk, I assure you, I shall make this machine, I shall talk some sense into it.
before he gets into this, I just wanted to say that my father did not have an easy road in acting. He was a very, very talented man who was rising to prominence at a very inopportune time. He still carved out a very, very impressive path for himself, but he faced a lot of setbacks in his career. And for this scene, when he reflected on it, he was talking about all of... He poured into this scene all of the disappointments and betrayals and unexpected vicissitudes that befell him into this this scene, and it's raw emotion going into this.
M5, do you know me?
Daystrom, Richard. Originator of Contronic Duotronic Systems. Born.
Stop. You're killing. We're killing. Murdering. Human beings, beings of our own kind. We're not created for that purpose.
He really, he was originally a stage actor, as we know. He got his start in 1944 in New York, and is very, very much larger than life. And he was talking about how the medium of film, all those big gestures that you do on stage for people who are going to see you very, very, very far away and live, but not on a big screen, not projected on a big screen, they have to be condensed, brought into the frame of the camera for what is a more intimate and, though at the same time once projected on screen, a larger setting, an intimate setting that leads to a large projection. Of course, this is TV, but I mean, it's still there's cameras involved, so all the blocking has to really just be brought in and tightened instead of the very large gestures on stage for something that is only burned into memory. You have something that's being distilled into film, into this moment that will be remembered forever on the medium onto which it's recorded. And so you really just have to bring all that intensity from the stage into a small area of focus. And he just, from that Shakespearean training and what he, the training he did in New York and whatnot at the Actors Studio, American Negro Theater, and Broadway in the very, very early days of black entry into Broadway, he just really perfected his craft.
You've murdered hundreds of people. We've murdered. How can we repay that?
They attacked this unit.
Nothing can hurt you. I gave you that. You are great. I am great. 20 years of groping to prove the things I'd done before were not accidents.
20 years. And he had been, for the most part, in acting for the last 20 years, up to the time that they made this. And so he really, really tapped into all that frustration from all the betrayals and all the just very unexpected events that befell him early in his career, and that followed him throughout his career. And so you're definitely seeing an expression of some very, very deep frustrations and reactions to betrayals here.
Seminars and lectures to rows of fools who couldn't begin to understand my systems. Colleagues laughing behind my back at the boy wonder. And becoming famous, building on my work. Building on my work!
He was actually a forerunner in black actors' access to cinema and just the acting world in roles that weren't servile. There are so many firsts that he's responsible for. The first black scientist on dramatic television, one of the first black opera singers in dramatic television in the sense of Bonanza, that was staged for dramatic television rather than a live show. And he was the first to understudy for a white actor in Broadway when he understudied for Boris Karloff for Peter Pan. He was an actor of many firsts, and he hasn't completely gotten his just due, even though he is very much remembered, and that's what I'm definitely setting out to achieve in this book that I'm writing about him.
The M5 must be destroyed.
Destroyed?
Destroy it, Kirk?
Destroyed, Kirk? There will be no destroying of the homicidal machine.
No. We're invincible. Look what we've done. Your mighty starships. 4 toys to be crushed as we choose.
Security.
I always love that scene. Daystrom's meltdown. Just a really great role. So, a fun story about this episode is a little kind of epilogue. There was actually a plan to bring Richard Daystrom, and thus my father, back onto Star Trek in the 90s when The Next Generation was running. There was a script written by Ron Ungul, and it was supposed to air sometime in 94, but it, for a number of reasons, my father was getting ready to retire, and he was advancing in his Alzheimer's and whatnot, and so it never actually materialized, but it really would have made a nice... it would have given a nice finality to that character's arc. So, here is to William Marshall, my father on what would have been his 101st birthday. And here's to the legacy, too. Thanks for joining me on this very first episode of
Buzzed with Blackula.
If you want more reactions, deep dives, stories, hit subscribe and stick around. This is just the beginning.